How the Kardashians took over everything. The story of how the Kardashians became A-list stars is more complicated than you remember and more surprising than you'd expect. By now, the Kardashians have been an omnipresent cultural force for so long that it's easy to forget that their place in the firmament used to look much more precarious. But in 2010, Keeping Up with the Kardashians was only a few seasons old, and there was no precedent for the star the Kardashian sisters were becoming. The word influencer didn't exist yet. Twitter was still for nerds, and Instagram wouldn't launch until October of that year. As far as most people were concerned, the Kardashians were destined to be flashes in the reality TV pan. Pretty party girls who would fizzle and then fade the way Kim Kardashian West's one-time boss, Paris Hilton, already had. Instead, Kris and her children took advantage of the fast-evolving world of social media and personal branding and built a veritable empire, which now includes a billion-dollar makeup company, at least 5 clothing lines, 8 spin-off shows, and 9 grandchildren, who seem poised to carry the torch. 1-year-old True will apparently soon be starring alongside her mother, Khloe Kardashian, in a show called Khloe and True Take the World. 9-year-old Mason, Kourtney Kardashian's oldest, is already doing confessional interviews on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The story of how the Kardashians went from D-list nobodies to A-list stars who feature regularly on the covers of Vogue and Forbes alike is a remarkable tale of American self-reinvention and self-definition in the digital age. It's more complicated than you remember and more surprising than you'd expect. A stay-at-home mom, an Olympic athlete decades past her prime, a girl with a big butt and a sex tape, and a gaggle of siblings stepped into the culture and made space for themselves. Not only that, but with the help of evolving technology and their own unerring instincts, they remade parts of culture in their own image. Once written off as little more than a sideshow, these days the Kardashians are celebrities that no one can afford to underestimate, let alone ignore. The Kardashians had an advantage over those other wannabes. They had Kris Jenner. Kris, a born devotee of excess, did not come into the public eye to make friends or feign humility. Instead, she said yes to every offer that came her way, rendering the Kardashian name utterly inescapable. A non-comprehensive list of the things at least one Kardashian endorsed or co-designed between 2007 and 2010, the quote, idle white teeth whitening pen, an at-home laser hair removal system, Skechers shape-ups, a clothing line for BB, a clothing line for QVC, a clothing line for Sears, a sunless tanner, and Carl's Jr. Kourtney, Kim, and Khloe also wrote and released a book called Kardashian Confidential. Kim and Khloe both appeared on various versions of The Apprentice alongside another decade-defining reality TV star. Kim did Dancing with the Stars, released a single and a perfume, and did a surprising amount of very bad acting. To some extent, this strategy of aggressive market saturation worked. Kris made herself and her children massively famous. She recently recalled requiring more security than the, quote, big stars at the 2010 Super Bowl in New Orleans. Quote, that was when we knew our lives had changed, she told The Cut. The Hollywood Reporter wrote a cover story about how the family had earned $65 million that year. There's no question that the name Kardashian was extremely well known and fairly well compensated. But then, in 2011, it almost all fell apart. Kim married NBA player Kris Humphries in a televised special called Kim's Fairy Tale Wedding, a Kardashian event, only to divorce him 72 days later. The simmering discontent with the Kardashian brand and their apparent pursuit of fame and money for fame and money's sake rose to a full boil, with some going as far as to start a petition to take Keeping Up with the Kardashians off the air. It didn't work, but even if it had, it probably wouldn't have mattered. The family would have just done what they did anyway, broaden their broadcasting to social media channels. Kim joined Instagram in 2012, with the rest of the family quickly following suit, and continued building their fame online. Losing Keeping Up with the Kardashians at that point would have been a setback, but not a game changer, since it had already done what it needed to do, put them on the map as people we paid attention to. But they needed new content in order to convince their audience to follow them to these platforms and stay loyal once they got there. Enter Kanye West, whom Kim started dating in 2012. Kanye was arguably approaching the height of his artistic powers at the time. He just put out Watch the Throne with Jay-Z and his solo album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Kanye's position as an artist transformed the way we understood Kim. Instead of just being a desirable girl who couldn't do anything, she became a hot girl who inspired someone, a muse, a familiar figure with a defined and accepted role. Kanye also gave Kim, and by extension her family, more serious cultural legitimacy than they'd previously possessed. He was already a bona fide A-list celebrity when they got together. Unlike Reggie Bush or Chris Humphries, Kim's professional athlete exes, he had nothing to gain from their relationship and plenty to lose. Kanye took Kim to her first Met Gala, and though she's since said she felt unwanted and out of place there, she met Corrine Reutfeld, who put Kim in her first high-fashion photo shoot for the cover of CR fashion book. Kanye insisted that Kim was A-list long before anyone else took that idea seriously, and the sheer force of his belief, combined with a makeover, actually helped make her a serious star. Around the same time, Kendall Jenner was also able to use her social success to change her career. She'd been signed to the modeling agency Wilhelmina since she was a teenager, appearing in ad campaigns for brands like Forever 21 and magazines like American Cheerleader and Teen Prom. In late 2013, she switched over to the society management and moved into the world of high fashion. By 2014, she was walking for old-school French brands like Givenchy, Chanel, and Balmain, and forming part of a group of Insta models, that is, high-fashion models who also had huge social followings, who were alternately lauded as fresh faces and bemoaned as the end of serious fashion, depending on who you asked. It seems unlikely, but maybe she will. Even if she does, the Kardashian name will likely remain in the spotlight. Kourtney's oldest child, Mason, is now 9, 2 years younger than Kylie was when she made her Keeping Up with the Kardashians debut. In 2030, he will turn 21. Kim's oldest, North, will be 17, with her cousins, Stormi and True, both hitting 12. The family will have new generations to create content, new conflicts to work through, new things happening in the world to respond to. The only thing that seems certain is that they'll still be in the public eye, asking us to keep watching them, and that we will still find ourselves unable to look away.